Chair. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I want to start by first saying that this council and the councillors within it have been the strongest elected body and a group of elected representatives on the topic of emergency general surgery, and I think it's important to commend the work of Save Our Acute Services yet again. Another example of this was a well-attended meeting last night. Some of the other councillors in the room were at the meeting, and it's a sign that even after 3 years and 7 months, the work continues for them and they're going strong. The RQIA report, though, Chair, was very clear. The service is not safe. 100% of hospital staff and NIAS staff who deliver the service surveyed in that report said they felt that the service was not safe. And the only people in that report that said they felt it was safe was management. Now, who do we believe? The management in offices who made the decision to remove emergency general surgery, or the people actually delivering the service day in, day out? I know who I believe when it comes to that. And as said, it's been 3 years and 7 months. There is no medical reason why the service couldn't be here in Enniskillen and in the South West Hospital. It is a political decision at this stage that emergency general surgery has not been restored to the South West. And as the motion states, Chair, it is simply a matter of political will to bring the service back. Now, it wouldn't be instant. It would take time to establish all the clinical interdependencies, which are required now. But the work could start now. We don't expect it to happen overnight, and it may take many years for those to be properly established, months and years, but it could start now. And the executive could bring this service back, in particular the Health Minister. And this council has previously asked ministers from all the parties in the executive to call this in, as they have the power to do, and none took up that opportunity. None cared enough to do this, even to discuss it, not even to take action, just to discuss it, let alone make a decision on it. And as said, the Health Minister in particular, as well as the executive, have real power here. They cannot be let, and in particular the Health Minister, I do stress, cannot be let abdicate their duties to people here. The time to act was over 3 years and 7 months ago, but Mike Nesbitt can act now, and he should. He has the power, he can. And he can't be allowed to kick this issue into touch, run down the clock to the next election, a bit like a team in the World Cup in a tight game, running down the final few minutes. He can't be let right off into his retirement sunset. To do such a thing would be a sad statement of what he thinks of the people of Fermanagh and Tyrone and what he cares about their safety. It would be disgraceful that action is not taken, because he has said no action will be taken until after March 2027, when the visioning is done. And guess what? Nothing will be done, because, as we've seen, we head into an election. He can take action, Chair, and he must take action, Chair, and he needs to intervene now. And I'll propose the motion.
Thank you. Is it working? There it goes. There you go. Oh, wrong one. Bernard?
Thank you, Chair. The removal of emergency general surgery from South West Acute Hospital has been detrimental to care of patients in Fermanagh Omagh. The Trust say that there has been no harm to any patients, but the RQIA report has shown that those delivering the service believe that patients have had a negative and worse outcomes. Staff say it's not safe, so it isn't safe for anyone. NIAS have said that it is common that there are no ambulances covering Fermanagh at times due to the need to transfer patients under the Trust's pathways. This isn't just impacting general surgery patients, but it is endangering everyone who is in need of an ambulance. as the ambulances have been directed to Altnagalvin. The Minister for Health recently said his priority for the health service is patient safety. If that is the case, then he should intervene and begin the process to re-establish emergency general surgery now. If he does not, then it is clear that when it comes to patient safety, he doesn't care about the people in Fermanagh and Tyrone. And I will second Councillor Gannon's motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Dermot?
Thanks, Chair. I want to start off by thanking the councillors for bringing forward this motion on the emergency general surgery. And again, just to agree that last night's meeting was really, really good to see, and there was a great attendance. And hopefully that energy will be sustained. This council has consistently supported calls to restore emergency general surgery ever since the day that it was taken away, and I welcome the opportunity for this council to reaffirm its very strong stance on this issue. It has been 3 years and 8 months since the collapse of EGS, and we still do not have a permanent resolution. As we know, patients who require emergency surgery have to travel for up to 2 hours to Altnagalvin in Derry. And unfortunately for some of these people, that has resulted in a double ED wait, which is a very, very stressful situation for them and their family. And while the Western Trust initially described this change as temporary, it has turned out to be anything but. The report last year released from RQIA revealed serious flaws in the pathways for patients and made a series of recommendations for the Western Trust to implement, many of which have not been implemented. More recently, the RQA carried out an inspection at the SWA and identified serious concerns. Although the report highlights progress in some areas, it identifies significant concerns about communication, governance, staffing pressures, and the monitoring of patient outcomes. The RQA report has highlighted the need for better information on outcomes across the entire patient pathway. Until that work is completed, important questions remain unanswered about the overall impact of the temporary arrangements. What we need here is a permanent solution. The Western Trust announced over a year ago that they would produce a vision plan for the SWA, but although they're talking about an engagement process, I have not yet seen that vision plan. So any vision plan must include steps to turn the SWA into a fully cross-border hospital, fully accessible by patients in Cavan, Monaghan, Donegal and Leitrim, as we were promised when the SWA was built. The ball now rests in Mike Nesbitt's court. He must ensure that adequate resources, staff and infrastructure are in place to deliver a sustainable, long-term solution for emergency general surgery in Fermanagh and West Tyrone, and there must now be a clear pathway towards the return of emergency general surgery, delivering safe, high-quality care while ensuring that people in Fermanagh and West Tyrone have fair and equitable access to hospital services that they need. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Eddie?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the councillors for bringing this motion forward. The motion is correct when it says that this is a matter of political will. There's plenty of examples of similarly rural hospitals across the UK that service similar populations to ourselves. In what are called unavoidably small hospitals, they provide emergency general surgery in these rural locations, often in geographical locations that are closer to other hospitals than ourselves. A good example is Barnstable Hospital, which is about an hour and 10 minutes from Exeter, about an hour and 45 from Plymouth, on very good roads with dual carriageway. And they are deemed unavoidably small, despite being far closer to a major hospital than ourselves. Now, I've said this many times before in this chamber and in public meetings. If we were based anywhere else in the UK, under the same circumstances, we would have emergency general surgery today, and we would have never been removed in the first place. This is a decision for the Health Minister and the Health Minister alone. Now, the Western Trust have confirmed in the past that when asked to provide a service by the Department of Health, they would be duty bound to do so long as funding is in place. It's long overdue that the Health Minister accepts this, that makes a decision to fund emergency general surgery back in the South West Acute Hospital. Alliance will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the councillors who brought forward this motion tonight. The restoration of emergency general surgery at SWA is not simply a local issue, but a regional issue of healthcare equality. For many people across the district, SWA is not one hospital among many options, but the only acute hospital that can be reached within a reasonable time frame. Long travel distances, poor road infrastructure and limited alternatives mean that decisions taken here have a disproportionate impact on our residents. However, we must also be honest about how we arrived at this position. The temporary removal of emergency general surgery in December 2022 did not happen in isolation. The review of general surgery published earlier that year established new regional standards. SWA did not meet those standards, and that had consequences for recruitment and service sustainability. While the Western Trust has now indicated that it has a full complement of surgeons, it is important to note that not all surgeons will necessarily be trained to deliver emergency general surgery. That is why any future pathway must involve engagement with the Royal College of Surgeons to ensure that correct workforce and training requirements are in place from the outset. The recent RQIA findings also raise important questions. Concerns remain regarding patient transfers and ambulance capacity. The report references the fact that no newly commissioned ambulance service has been put in place to cope with the additional journeys that were expected when these pathways changed. Furthermore, the RQIA report worryingly states that staff morale and concerns on patient safety have been continually raised. Worryingly, they feel that those concerns have not been acted upon or listened to. If the department has accepted the RQIA recommendations, then the public deserves to know what progress has been made and how those recommendations are informing future decisions. I also share concerns about the lack of clarity from the Department of Health. Communities have been left in limbo. We still don't know how decisions on emergency general surgery fit alongside wider hospital reconfiguration plans, nor do we know which decision will come first. For a minister who rightly speaks about tackling health inequalities, there's a growing perception that another health inequality is being created here in the West. Finally, I want to acknowledge the work of SOAS and all those who have campaigned tirelessly on this issue. We now need that same determination from the Minister and his department. Many feel that waiting until March 2027 for the Trust Vision Plan is the equivalent of a political football being kicked down the road, with Purda in the election next year presenting an opportunity for the Minister to walk away from his responsibility on this. The people of this district deserve clarity, certainty and a sustainable future for emergency surgery at SWA, and I'm therefore pleased to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Victor, and then I'll come to you, Josephine.
Thank you, Chair. The SWA and the restoration of emergency general surgery rightly continues to demand this Council's attention. It's exactly a year on from the Trust's attempt of a flawed consultation last July, and almost a year from the Minister's subsequent very important intervention. We all know what was asked of the Trust at the time, and whilst I do welcome now the formal launch of a public engagement programme on a vision plan, progress has been slow. But ultimately, it's most important that this process is carried out correctly rather than rushed. There has been too many mistakes made in the past, and so it is now critically important that local people have their say. I also want to say that I'm very much welcome the engagement the Trust has been having locally with key stakeholders. The engagement is better now than what it once was, but that's the very least we should expect. But this next phase of engagement must be genuine and meaningful. People rightly expect their views to influence their final vision, not simply be acknowledged after key decisions have effectively already been made. My party has constantly argued for safe and suitable local services, including the restoration of emergency general surgery at the SOA, where it is possible to do so. Once the vision work is completed and the final plan is presented, I hope the Trust will be in a stronger and more informed position to determine and set out the next steps. Part of that will hopefully be the consideration moving forward with a new business case for the reinstatement of the service. It is also important to remember the many good things happening at the hospital at the minute. It has never been busier in terms of a number of surgeries happening each week, increased endoscopy sessions and multiple new consultants and specialities such as gynae and gastro. But I fully accept the current situation is far from acceptable. The latest RQIA report, whilst identifying some improvements, also identified continuing concerns around lengthy patient transfers, ambulance availability, pressures on emergency departments, staff relationships, governance arrangements, and the need for better monitoring of patient outcomes across the entire pathway, not just those patients admitted to Acknagelvin. The hugely important comments of SWA staff simply can't be ignored by the Trust. That's why the Trust not only need to take forward the vision work, but also now once and for all move at pace to fix the ongoing problems with the pathways. There's simply no excuse for them. Our party will be supporting the motion.
Okay, and well timed, Victor.
Good, was it?
Went 5 seconds over, but you'll be all right. Josephine?
Thank you, Chair, and I would like to thank Councillors Gannon and McGrath for bringing forward this motion, which I will be supporting. From the very outset, Fermanagh Omagh District Council strongly supported the restoration of emergency general surgery in the South West Acute Hospital. The South West Acute Hospital is vital for the provision of health services to our local community, not just in Fermanagh, but also in Omagh. I think that there have been very many challenges faced by the Trust, and I do think that we have to acknowledge those challenges. I think that the new Chief Executive